right, episode 20, what did I say? 24, I think, of New York City Bike Culture. It's been a few weeks, it's been busy. I'm fully vaccinated, so that's exciting. I hope a lot of other people are. We had a first, I should say, mass start bike race in New York City this past weekend, and my guest today was there as well. I'm gonna give one version of the pronunciation. It's an Italian name that though is now French. He's of French heritage, made in France, but has lived in the US now for, like you said, 12, 13 years. Christophe Palazzi. Palazzi would be the Italian way. What's the American version? Did they give you some Palazzi? Okay, you got it. So Christophe Palazzi. Races for CRCA Blue Ribbon. Has been a racer since 2017. Did some racing before. We'll talk all about that. Like I said, he was in the 1-2-3 race this past weekend. Always an aggressive rider who likes to have fun, who likes to not just sit in the bunch. So I enjoy that. And I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about kind of your way into the sport, your way into I think that's a story maybe we haven't told as much. We've told that a little bit with Ben in the very beginning, but maybe this is more I hope I'm not getting too close there, like saying the master's perspective of upgrading, where you start a little bit later in life. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll go from there. But tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into bike riding first? The usual assumption is you learn it at some point, especially growing up in France. I think that's just a standard thing to learn, and then you ride around a little bit. But it's usually a means of transportation as a kid, going to school maybe, depending on where you grew up. So tell us a little bit about that. You're from France?
Yeah, I'm from France. Grew up close to Paris in Versailles.
Okay.
And obviously, as every kid, I had a bike when I was a kid. I actually lived so close to middle school that I didn't need to ride my bike to school. I could have walked there, but I was still taking my bike to go there. And then, I used to love riding around. We had a lot of woods actually, so I actually had a mountain bike.
Okay.
And I was hitting the trails. Nothing serious, nothing like racing.
So this is like we're talking like pre like any kind of shocks mountain bike still, or like pretty early mountain bike.
Exactly. Yeah. No rear suspension. I think the fork I had a fork with suspension, so that was fun. Oh, thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Open.
Yeah, and pierogi you can share if you want to. Yeah.
Thank you.
And chai.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So mountain bike.
Yeah,
in addition to like riding a bike to school, kind of.
Yeah, riding bike to school, recreational, riding with my friends around, and then really never got really serious into cycling when I was in France. I actually sold my bike when I moved to the US like 13 years ago.
And when you say my bike, you talking about the mountain bike, or you already had a road bike now?
No, I didn't even have a road bike when I was in France. Just like basic mountain bike, very cheap. Just hitting the trails or riding on the road, just having fun. Actually, I had a moped when I was a teenager, so I like being on two wheels. I like going fast. I like exploring. Yeah. Was a little bit lazy.
That's a more European thing too. The moped.
Too much exercise. Yeah. But yeah, it's really when I moved to the US that I got serious into cycling. First, I really wanted to.
So that was like 12, you said 13 years ago or something?
Yeah, 13 years ago.
So around the same time I came to the US, but I lived in some other states first. You've always been New York City?
Yeah, I've always been New York City. Actually, first I was in East Village for 2 years. 2007, 2008. Actually, first I bought a bike just to explore the city. So found a dirt cheap mountain bike from Kmart, probably $100. Yeah. And just beat the mountain bike around and just ride around on the river, explore Brooklyn, Queens, whatever.
Awesome.
And I wanted more. I had some colleagues actually who were into road riding. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we are hitting those bike routes across the Washington Bridge. But you should buy a road bike.
The usual story, like 9W, like what's 9W?
Exactly.
Washington Bridge. What's
River
the Washington Bridge?
9W.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
And so I was very intrigued. Really wanted to ride with them. At the same time, I also had some French friends that were into cycling and we bought some road bikes. So I made the move. I bought a Trek carbon bike, very basic entry level. I wanted it to be carbon because I was like, it's probably gonna be something serious. So
okay, you were like, okay, I'm
so I
pretty
wanted
sure.
something light, but not something crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And
More the bike you could ride for 2, 3, 4, 5 years without
exactly.
an upgrade kind of immediately if you get really into it. Yeah.
So I bought that bike was probably 11 years ago, and started riding with these guys. First time across the bridge, like River Road was like, oh wow, this is so close to New York City. This is amazing. Those trails. One of the fun rides we used to do was going up to Tolman Park, and there was a swimming pool that was open at the time. So take swimsuits, ride over there, swim a little bit, come back. So that was
the one by Piermont, or
yeah, the one by Piermont.
It's still open, I think, right?
I think they reopened it a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Oh, it was closed for a while.
Yeah, it was closed for a while.
I've seen it. I think it looked pretty open, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of, I think, exploring the city on a bike is the ideal way anyway. I think to get to know the city, and so that was a pretty natural kind of transition as somebody who liked to go and move and be outside. And
exactly.
An energetic person, and while you're here, you might as well explore and have some fun. But what my understanding is, then, while you are riding, that your outdoor competitive spirit first drew you into triathlon, which is also a pretty common story, I think. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the triathlon boom probably wasn't quite. I think it's still booming and still growing, maybe even more so than cycling has over the last few years. So you kind of, I don't say that was like the height of the triathlon boom when you were joining it, but triathlon is certainly something that a lot of people are kind of getting into, or like sports and being outdoors. So you did that for a while.
Yeah, I did that for a while. Yeah. That was my entryway into road racing. Actually, I had some friends, a bunch of French friends, were riding around, and they started signing up for those triathlons. And at the beginning, I was a little bit shy. I did a little bit of running recreationally, mostly in the winter, because I wasn't riding so much in the winter at the time. And they convinced me to sign up. And actually, my first triathlon was the New York City Triathlon. It was probably 6-7 years ago. It was fun. I had a blast. I was a terrible swimmer, but the swim for that one is in the Hudson River, and they time it with the current pushing you, so no problem at all.
That's not the one that's in Central Park, because in Central Park you only do duathlons, right?
Right. In Central Park it's only duathlon. This one starts on the Hudson. You swim in the Hudson, and then you ride.
You swim downstream or upstream?
No, downstream.
Okay, nice.
So it's very quick.
Yeah.
You can be a terrible swimmer like
me.
no
You just have
problem.
to stay above water. Yeah. You'll get there.
You just have to float. Put a wetsuit on, and like they always say, you should go as fast as the bag of potato chips. Put a bag of potato chips. You can go as fast as that. Yeah. So that was my entry into the sport. I did triathlons for a couple of years. I was doing like 3-4 per year. One of them that I really enjoyed was up in Highmont State Park, actually.
Okay.
It's like the same course as the Bear Mountain Road Race, but opposite direction.
Okay.
And so lots of climbing, a lot of fun. Really like that one.
Is that still around?
I think it's still around. Yeah. I don't know if they had it last year because of COVID, but it was still around. And so that's how I got into the sport. And then on top of that, I also started doing Gran Fondo New York.
Yeah.
In probably my first one was in 2015.
How long has that been around? Do you know? It's not that old, right? So you must have done one of the first ones.
Yeah,
then.
that was probably the third or fourth.
Okay.
So I heard about it. So it was like, well, could be fun. Like sounds like a good organized race. Some people don't think it's a race, but I had no clue like road racing existed at that time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so very hard to get to know. So I was like, oh, let's sign up for that. I signed up for it with a couple of friends, and yeah, I had a blast. Did it 1 year. Couldn't wait for the next edition to come back, and did it another year. And then I was like, I need to do more. Like racing and stuff like that. So I actually connected with some folks on Strava that we are competing for some KOMs. And this guy, who actually still races for GF Capital, Masters racer, said, well, you should get a license. You should sign up for those road races. And I could see him race on Strava. I was like, where are those races? How does it work? And then at the same time, I actually bought a new bike from Echelon across the village,
Echelon
West Village,
Cycles.
Echelon Cycles. So when I bought the bike, they're like, if you wanna get on the team, if you wanna race, here's a kit. So Pablo, the owner who unfortunately passed away, was the one who got me onto the team. He said, if you wanna race, I'll give you a kit.
Okay,
Give
awesome.
me a kit.
Yeah.
I was stoked. I was like, let's go race.
Yeah.
Signed up for my first race a month after Gran Fondo in June of 2017.
Yeah, so that was the third time you did the Gran Fondo, and then in June you jumped into CRCA racing, or?
No, it was
others?
actually, I don't think there was, I did the clinics, you know what, I actually did the clinics, but the first race that was happening was Bear Mountain Road Race.
Oh, wow.
And I was a Cat 5, and the forecast was like pouring rain, and I was like, I don't know if it's a good idea to start with like such a famous and climby road race. So I actually signed up for the White Plains Crit.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah.
So wait, so you were like, that course is kind of hard and it's rain. I get the rain part.
Yeah.
But the White Plains Crit, which I think is supposed to get revived, but that's a technical course. Like,
I know.
You probably didn't know you were signing up for.
I had no idea about it.
Because like, it's a 4-corner grid. If that was the same course
it
that
was the same
I
course.
raced.
Yep.
It's kind of, it has an uphill on one side and a downhill on the other.
Yep.
A corner where you're going like 35 through it, and like people often hit the sidewalk.
I know.
And there's
and
like
manhole
covers.
Manhole covers,
which I raced it in the rain. You're just like ice skating on them.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway.
So
White Plains Crit is actually great, but in the rain you have to be careful. Yeah.
No, it's great. It was very welcoming. But I mean, typical Cat 5. I showed up on the line. I had no idea what to expect. I had done those CRCA clinics though, so I was like kind of familiar with.
But it's
riding.
In the park. It's not a crit, right?
Yeah, it's very different. But yeah, I mean, first race I didn't get dropped.
Good.
But didn't get in contention for the sprint. So I finished with the pack, and I was like, wow, that was fun. Let's do more. So then I started signing up for those races. I think the second one I did was Prospect, one of the Castelli races, and then the Central Park races.
Yeah.
But first I have to actually thank my wife, who's the one who really pushed me into the racing part of it, because she was the one who was like, yeah, you should race, you should try to find like group of people to do your hobby more, because I was like riding alone and doing those triathlons, but I really know that was cycling, that was something I was passionate about. So she was like, yeah, you should sign up for those races. So yeah, maybe now she regrets it because it's taking a lot of my time, but at that time she was the one who pushed me to sign up for those races. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'll let you eat a bite, and I'll maybe give you a little transition time here. So, like a few things I want to pick up on is like, again, you started a little bit later in life, so we'll talk a little bit about kind of the master's trajectory, maybe, which is you know, with usually at that point maybe less job flexibility often, maybe more family or relationship demands often, maybe more wariness of like what could happen in racing, and kind of so it's probably usually a different perspective. Also maybe not with that innate like turn of speed that we see. Like, I mean, we just had a couple of juniors in the race on 1, 2, 3, and they in the sprint they were both up there, of course, because they just have that quickness at that age. You know, and they're strong riders anyway. But I think when you see a junior racer, you're almost always there. He's probably going to sprint okay at least. You know, so. Versus like when you see somebody who's 35, you're like, well, we'll see how sprint is, you know. But so there's that a little bit. Triathlon, you really got into it for Gran Fondo, which I think is a common story too. Like I talk to people who like only know the Gran Fondo, don't like kind of like you, don't know the local racing scene. Yeah. And Strava is a great tool there that way to see where are other people riding, and you're doing loops in the park on early on a Sunday morning. What's going on there?
I know.
And that's kind of actually how you often find out about the racing, because those social media platforms where you can connect, it's easier than Googling like bike racing in New York City or something, like, which you can do, and it's going to take you to the right places too, but that can be tricky. Yep. So you started out at Echelon, which I don't know if the team still exists. You said the owner died, and
what size is it? What size are you? Medium or large? T-shirt.
Medium.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you more. He's getting a Salka shirt here, so lucky. You can't promise that for everybody. Not that everybody's coming here, but
great surprise.
depending on the mood of the day, depending on what impression you make. No pressure. So on that. well, let's pick up maybe the story of like let's continue maybe that story. So Echelon bicycle, big cycles, which kind of a pretty distinctive, largely orange kit. And I think still see them around occasionally. I don't know how big the group is, but they still some around.
Right.
At least I still feel like they affiliate with the I don't know if they still are a CRCA sub team, but I think they might be.
I think they are. Yeah. A couple of guys still on the team.
And then you kind of went on to, I'm always mixing up the letters, but I think RB&Y,
right?
Which is sort of. I kind of call them a bit of a development team because they often take on people who are a little bit newer to it. I don't think they necessarily, it's necessarily branded or labeled as a development team, but they often take on people who are newer to the sport and develop them a little bit. And then, and now you're on CRCA Blue Ribbon, which is probably, or certainly has more the identity of a more competitive team, maybe even still. So I think you've made that kind of transition from a first team, a first starting point, a more ambitious but development focused team to kind of a more really like results now oriented kind of team, or racing at the A field at CRCA, or in the Cat 1, 2, or maybe 3 races. And most of your teammates are 3 and above, right? Or all of them, actually, I think. So tell us a little bit more. And I think again, I don't always want to just focus on the racing, but I think between 2017 and, well, really 2019, I think you upgraded from being a 5 to a Cat 1, is that right?
Yeah.
So
I actually got my 1 upgrade in 2020. So
2020, okay, so with one race in 2020 or something like that?
I know not that many, but I try to do as many as I can.
Good, okay, well, congratulations anyway. Which is an accomplishment and the upgrade rules always change a little bit, so you don't need to go into all the points, because I was just talking to a teammate that the upgrade rules have changed again. I'm like, oh my god, I have to like relearn everything. It's hard. But that's like, if you get into racing, then the conversations often start. That can be a blessing, and for some people it's motivating, for some people it's off-putting, because it's just talk about categories and then you feel like, oh, he's a Cat 3, he's not going to talk to us. I think it creates a little bit of separation, but it also creates a natural kind of ladder system that can be motivating. And I think for you, it has been motivating.
It has been, Sure.
So tell us a little bit more about, and you are also one of the cases who came from an active lifestyle / having already done some triathlons. Not a ton, like 3-4 a year is not a lot of triathlons compared to how many bike races you do now, I think. But you've had that progression. So tell us a little bit more about how you got from racing 2, 3 Gran Fondo New Yorks, and then your first race at White Plains, where, again, not everybody makes the front group in their first Cat 5 race. Actually, I think that's usually the cutoff where you realize, oh, I have to train a lot more to do this, or I have to learn how to do this. Because maybe you have the fitness, but you didn't know how to follow the group. I was watching the Cat 4 and Cat 5 fields, which you can now enter as a Cat 4 at the beginning at Reynolds Island crit last weekend. And both the fields were within 2 or 3 laps, down to like 10, 15, 20 guys in the front or less than that. And that courses, or like White Plains, will cause that, right? Because you have to have both the handling skills and the strength, and you can't just roll in the group and everybody's just cordially like riding along and wait until the sprint. So I think that helps that you immediately kind of were competitive, probably. But tell us a little bit more about that trajectory and how that went for you, and maybe as you changed team, but also like how you've been training and how the races have been going for you. I think you have a lot to tell, but I'll probably ask more questions. So
Sure. No. So I mean, when I started racing, I think I had a decent cycling fitness level, and let's be clear, when I was a kid, I was not the athletic guy. I was not a running background, not very athletic. So I really discovered that fitness culture in the US. So I was cycling, running, got into triathlon. So started being more healthy and working out more. And then I realized if you wanted to be competitive, you had to train a lot. So started training more and more. Those first few races were definitely a learning experience, and then I was kind of trying out some stuff. I think my first race in Central Park as a Cat 5 was the month after in July. It was the Incapi No Maltese in the pouring rain.
So that's one of the open races that CRCA puts on, and everybody can join. You don't have to be a CRCA member.
And I was.
That was that pouring rain edition.
Pouring rain
That's
edition.
Not so long ago. Yeah. So, it was great pictures from that.
I know, great pictures. I was a Cat 5. I was riding in the pack. I couldn't see anything.
I was marshalling that day. It looked miserable.
Foggy. I was trying with glasses, without glasses, riding with the pack. I mean, as riding with the pack, a Cat 5 can be so pretty far from each other. And at the last lap, I was like, this is not going to be safe if everyone starts sprinting in the rain. So I got to try something. So I made the Cat 5 move, started attacking from Harlem Hill, and it was a Tavern on the Green finish. And then basically I was like,
oh yeah, that's a horrible finish in the rain.
I know,
Yeah.
horrible finish in the rain. I started going all out, and actually a couple of guys came with me, and I was like, okay, let's go. Took some pulls, and then I ended up dropping them right before the finish and winning that race.
Awesome.
And I was like, wow, that was something.
That was your
fun.
first Central Park race? Or?
Yeah, that was my
Oh,
first
wow.
Central Park race.
So the Harlem Hill is to Tavern on the Green, which is like the kind of the northwest corner of the park to the
Yep.
southwest corner, which is like 2.5 miles maybe.
Probably,
So,
yeah. The bus is 6 miles, so half of it is free.
You go up the
so
hill,
2.5.
which I think in the Cat 5 it works pretty well to attack there.
Yeah.
I think later on in the other categories,
Yeah,
it's
probably
less,
the
less good of a launching pad unless you're really strong. But that's a big win. So you were pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
And then
I was happy with that.
That was still in 2017 or no?
That was still in
2018?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I started like pretty much doing all the races that I could do. I really wanted to upgrade. That was a goal that I had from the beginning. So I did all the CRCA clinics that were giving you points to upgrade. Plus, I think they were very good to like give you like advice on how to ride in a pack and how to approach some type of races. So yeah, I took those clinics with Tara and Mary. Carl also did some. I know Scott Savory also did one a couple of years ago. So great thing, like for anyone who's new into the sport, I would highly recommend that. CRCA did a great job with that. And yeah, I got my great points to move into Cat 4. Also, my teammates at Echelon were all Cat 4, so I was like, makes sense to race with them.
Yeah.
Let's see what it is. And
so
then,
back then the rule was if you were Cat 5, you had to put in at least 10 mass starts, and the clinics counted as a mass start. To be a 4, and then you could opt for that as a voluntary upgrade. But
exactly, yeah.
Now they just changed the rules to you can choose to start as a 5, I think, to just gain experience, or you can choose if you feel like you're strong and don't need that, you can immediately go on a 4, which is maybe good because there have been some cases of like pro triathletes going up to a Cat 5 race and then. But they would do the same thing on Cat 4 field, just decimate it. But anyway, so you did your 10 mass starts in that first year?
Yeah, that first year, yeah.
So that was pretty good. And I think the clinics, like you said, any clinic probably is great to have. Any kind of race simulation or talking through some things is really good because
very helpful.
It's one thing to be strong, and it's another thing to understand and navigate kind of the bike race.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So what was next? Same year still?
Yeah,
more
same
racing?
year. That summer actually I started doing more road races. Still in Cat 4. So one of my teammates at that time, Mark, we went up to the Catskills to do a Capital Region. So pretty hard climbing race, and I really enjoyed climbing. That race got really like shattered apart in one of the climbs. One guy was at the front. I thought there was 3 guys. I was chasing. I ended up solo in the middle of nowhere, and I realized there was only one guy up the road. So I got second place. I was pretty happy.
Yeah.
Got some points towards the upgrade, and then kept doing.
This was a USA cycling race back then?
Yeah, it was
okay. Tour of the Catskills.
Yeah. No, it was a Capital Region.
No, Capital Region. Sorry,
Capital Region, yeah.
Sorry, I confused it. Yeah. Capital Region, which is near Albany somewhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that summer I still didn't have a kid, so I could travel more. I did Tokeneke. I did all the big races as a Cat 4.
So you may notice he's talking about a lot of kind of climby road races here. So that is not something he's afraid of. But, so yeah.
Something I enjoy.
Those.
Yeah, I enjoy climbing, and I mean that season was great. Finished as a Cat 4. And then at the end of the season, actually, I ended up joining RBNY. So in one of those Central Park races, a points race, all the guys were like competing for points at every lap, and I countered attack on one of the last laps. Ended up going away solo and getting some points and finishing second overall. So RBNY reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to join the team. yeah, at the time it was a great opportunity for me. I think the team was pretty big, and I knew a few folks on the team. So I decided to join the team, and I learned a ton. Per, who was running the team.
Yeah, Per Rosenquist, who's still leading the team, right? Yeah.
Still running the team, did a fantastic job of coaching me and the guys in the team, and actually a bunch of the guys from that time are like now Cat Ones.
Yeah,
like
I know quite a few of the names.
Strong racers like Josh Noggle, Joe Erling, Emma Gross.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a great team.
Yeah, could name a few others, but we don't need to drop all the names. But yeah, that was I think a lot of them are still racing, like you said. So that's great.
Yeah.
And I think teams like that always go kind of through cycles of groups of people. When you're more in the development role, you probably have more of a turnover in the long run. So then you did a couple of years with them, 1 year? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I did about a year and a half. With them. So my second season in 2018, we did a ton of races. First the local races. But then the races upstate that I enjoyed more. That's where I got some good results, and the team was fantastic in supporting me. So we did Trooper Brinkerhof, which is
great race.
Not so much climby, but
that's my kind of race. Yeah. That's just hilly enough for me where it's like it's harder, but it's not it's not really a rolling hills. It's more like there's a few hills. I think it's the closest we can come to like a kind of a Belgian classics kind of race. Not as hard as that, but like in terms of the terrain, like windy and rolling, and I can only recommend. It's not that far from the city. It's like 2.5 hours to drive. Yes, but they're coming up here now. They're usually in April, and they're coming up June 5th and 12th, I think. And I don't know if you're going to be going.
In 1 month.
With the baby, with the title that I have, I'm probably going to opt for the local races. But I have a soft spot in my heart for the Trooper races, and I know there's going to be some people going from CRCA clubs and other teams. So you're going to be on your list or thinking about it?
I think I'm going to stay local. I think when there's a upstate race and a local race, it's easier for me to stay local.
Which is
otherwise I'm going all day.
I know it's a blessing and a curse for us New York City racers. I always say we're a little too incestuous sometimes, where we only stick to our own races and all we know is those 3 courses that we race. And we never, not often enough, put ourselves out there. Because 2.5 hours is like a standard driving distance for a lot of other people around the country to race, But I totally get it, and I can ride to Prospect Park in 25 minutes and 20 minutes with the bike. So and I have my warm up in, and I'm good to go, and I'm done by it. But anyway, so you did a lot of those races with RBNY, and I definitely remember you from those days already. I think we probably weren't in the same races a lot, but that squad was strong, and you guys all had a good time.
We had a good time. Trooper, we had a great time. Actually, there was another race before Trooper around Rockland Lake as part of the collegiate races.
Yeah, that kind of is on and off again. I think they bring it back sometimes, and then it's kind of not there for a year. But
right.
That's a good race too.
So it was a good race, but I missed the break at that race, and I was kind of disappointed. And then one of my teammates said, "Oh, this guy who was in the break at the collegiate race is going to be a Trooper, so you have to mark him. To mark him, maybe you guys are going to win a break, and something's going to happen." So I marked that guy. His name is Jack Vogel. I don't think he's racing anymore.
I think he moved to for definitely graduate school to South Carolina or something like that. Yeah.
So E2 value guy, I marked him, and it worked. Trooper, I got my first big result over there. Marked him. We ended up in a move of 4 guys with Andrew Wigan also. Andrew and I were the last 2 who were able to survive, and the field was charging on us. And at the last corner, I was like, I know I'm not a sprinter. I have to launch from far. I have to give it all out from as far as possible. So I just started sprinting from very far and didn't turn around. And that was my first
It was a hard man sprint at that point. When, as I always say, at the end of a long race, when you rode the whole breakaway, it's more about who's got the freshest legs. If you're not a good sprinter, you're still at a disadvantage. But
I know. I'm a terrible sprinter, so I know I have to go from very far.
it's like a 400, 500 meter sprint from the corner. I think a trooper off into a headwind. So
exactly.
So it's not a pleasant sprint. Yeah. And I've lost out there a couple of times, so I know what it's like. So that like you're already highlighting, I think, and you're bringing that excitement into it. A lot of the local highlights kind of races, Tokaniki, I think that's how you say it, Connecticut, which is kind of a legendary kind of race here too, one of the road races that's still around, Capital Region. Neither of which I have done because, as you said, there's always a local race, often competing, and and they are not easy. But they're great races, especially if you like a little bit of going uphill. I think they can be recommended. So you upgraded probably further to Cat 3 at some point then that year?
Yeah, I was a Cat 3 and I did Bear Mountain road race that year as a Cat 3. So yeah, once again, pretty bad condition. It was pretty cold and like rainy, and I wasn't expecting a ton as a free. I was just happy to be the lead pack during the whole race. Good group of teammates also, and then we ended up in that last lap, probably like 15 guys. People were throwing attacks, and then I kind of gambled 5K from the line. I went solo. I was hoping for someone to come with me. No one came with me.
It's one of those moves where you're like, let's go, but maybe take 2 people with me.
I know.
It
was just, I think there was an attack just from Jack or from another guy right before, and I was like, oh, no one's coming with me. So then I was like, let's just go. Let's see what happens. And pretty unexpected result. I was on that last climb with the moto, and the moto was telling me they're behind at like 20 seconds, and I'm like, Jesus, they're gonna catch me. So I was like giving it all out, and I ended up winning solo that race.
That's a big race.
It was a state championship. So I became
Cat 3 state
state championship.
2018.
Yeah, it was 2018. 2018. So yeah, I was super happy. I was like, wow, pretty unexpected.
That's a fun. I mean, like there's you can. Being a state champion is about showing up and being there, but that's usually the Cat 3 is a pretty competitive race, and on that course it's certainly hard. And anytime you get as we always say, I think Dan Schmaltz, one of the local racers, once wrote something. Every time you get a jersey, that's fun. It's exciting, right? You get a jersey for something, and being able to call yourself a state champion is like, especially on that course, I think really fun and well deserved. Then. So you're making this sound like this natural progression, but I think at some point along the lines you must have. Well, actually, I want to continue that path, but at some point along the lines, I want to say that this is not like the natural progression for everybody, right? You're talking within a year, you're upgrading to Cat 3 and winning the state championship, which again, on that course, you don't just win on luck. Yes, bike racing winning is always a little bit of luck. You need to make the right decision at the right point and get a little bit of luck. Well, most of the time, but do you think it was a little bit of talent? Do you think having ridden the bike for some years already helped you, or was it that you really? I mean, obviously you put the hours in too, but what do you think? What was it? A combination of these things? What do you think made you? Because once again, like I think a lot of people are more like, okay, they upgrade to 4, and then maybe they upgrade to 3, but then often it gets a little bit competitive, and often they 1 to 3 races now. So that's a bit of a jump. So how was that for you? It sounds natural. These are some big results that clearly are also coming from someone who's just strong. So how do you get that strength? Let's ask it this way. You don't have to give away your secrets of training, but for those who kind of are beginning or on that path, like how do you make it happen, kind of, without giving away all your training tricks?
No, I mean, listen, I raced a ton. I think that's how I got there. I mean, for every win, there was also like 10 like mid-pack finishes, or so yeah. I mean, I think the advice that I would give someone who wants to upgrade quickly is like you gotta race a ton. I did so many races, all the courses, all the branch routes. I was signing up for the 2 fields. That day actually. I did Branchbrook, 2 fields of Branchbrook in the morning, and then I drove up to that race at Walk on Lake, so I raced 3 times.
Wow,
So some people would say it's not productive, you should focus on some races, but for me it was like a learning experience. So that first year in 2017 when I started racing in June, I probably did almost 20 races until September, and then I did probably like 40 to 50 races the next 2 years. So for every win, like there were a lot of like struggling races in which I was learning. Like every time, it's a learning experience. Some people would call it a failure because you don't win or you don't do top 10, but for me it was like, okay, that's how the race played out. Okay, maybe I should have done this, should have done that. Maybe I was too aggressive, or maybe I was not aggressive enough. I was too much at the back. That's how I see it. I did a lot of races where I was like struggling, and I was like, wow, I'm never gonna make it to the finish. It's gonna be tough. I have no way to attack, and depending on the course, you learn and you know who the best guys are and which team is working which way. You get to learn the critical moves and try to not miss them.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think that experience of studying the courses, right, and like the best way to study is to race them, right? And I think especially here where we have 3, 4, and even if you go outside to those races, once you've done them a couple of times, you kind of know how the races play out, where the spots are, where usually attacks happen. And maybe you have to attack at the exact opposite spot because nobody expects it there, you know? So there's a lot of that. I think what a lot of us enjoy about it, it's more than just the pure power. It's more than that. It's really picking your spots and thinking about the race and who's in the race. And again, in New York City, you can gain a lot from knowing your competition and knowing who they are, because you will see the same people over and over again. Which is a good thing, I think, especially if you are somebody who races a lot, then you will have that advantage probably. And you're 100% right. I think getting experience is almost more important than like the result, especially in the beginning. Once you're at the Cat 3 level, especially, you can gain a lot. Those races are always competitive, they're always good, Cat 3, and you can learn a lot there also for like pack handling and strategies. And yes, the strategies maybe are a little bit different than 1, 2, 3 strategies. Everybody writes a little bit more for themselves, but you learn a lot. I think that's where you really. So yes, you can upgrade quickly, but I think yes, please, but I think that's really great, and we'll talk a little bit more about kind of the physical preparation part after. But tell us, let's finish it up and maybe take a break then. So the state champion a year in, and you're at this point you're accumulating points toward your next upgrade to category 2 already. And did that happen the same year or did it happen the next year?
I think it happened the year after. That was 2018. Maybe at the end of that year.
Actually, let me keep the fork on, work on the pierogies. Thank you.
So I kept racing all the local races. Try to go to Floyd Bennett as much as I could.
Which you live in Manhattan. That's a 70-mile round trip with a race, something like that. So you're kind of like me. You're hitting the races and you caught the bug. And, I think if you do that on a Tuesday night and then you 1 or 2 races on the weekends, or maybe 3 in a day, like you can accumulate and we're blessed with that, right? In New York City, I think we can accumulate 60 races a year without trying. Well, I mean, you're trying hard, but you're not like you don't have to drive 4 hours for a race. You're talking all within the city and an hour or 2 outside, right?
Exactly. You can do Rockley on Floyd on Tuesday, Rockley on Thursday, and then a Prospect and a Central Park race.
All races basically within the city. I mean, Rockley technically outside, but it's a little further than Floyd Bennett, depending on where you live, but it's a little closer. But so and then at the end of 2018, you moved on. 2019, you moved on to Blue Ribbon.
Right.
And then the next upgrades kind of happened there, where the Cat 2 upgrade happened there, but you had already started accumulating some points. So, was it a little bit of the? I know that some of the other people you've mentioned, Josh Nagel was in Rockstar Games, and Emmett was on there, right? Some others, we could mention others again, but there was some turnover. Was that part of why you moved on, or was it just the French connection? As Pascal is the French guy on the team. So
exactly.
You mentioned the French connection earlier before. I think the community in New York City, like. There's 2 people. Actually, there's currently one German on the team I'm on, right? I think those connections exist a little bit, right? Or they make your, and I think we see that in other teams that have like one culture or country or language dominated a little bit, right? Was that a part of the reason, or how did that happen?
That was part of the reason for sure. I was speaking to Pascal, and he was trying to build kind of this French community of bike racers. So yeah, I mean there's actually another guy on the team, Mark.
Like Gagliano?
Yeah, Mark Gagliano.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean Pascal.
Another guy, a French guy with an Italian name.
I know. Yeah, we are. Yeah. So yeah, we. I joined Blue Ribbon for that reason. Yeah, we were trying to build like a French connection team. And yeah, I mean, for me it was a natural progression. A lot of people on RBNY were also leaving.
Right.
So this core group that I really liked was not there anymore, and I felt like Blue Ribbon was building a great team. I also knew Ben Gordetsky was on the team. And some strong guys from Foundation were being brought on board, like Anthony Cao and Andrew Petty. So I mean, so it was pretty promising. Also, Edwin was coming on board.
The Tuesday night series that year.
Won the Floyd series. So yeah, we built that team, and we had a fantastic season in 2019. So we won the Floyd series with Edwin. We won the
Edwin with the help of his teammates. Very clearly, you guys dominated. He dominated that year, but he had help, and I think he was strong. But the team turned out a few times for sure to shut some things down that were happening, and
exactly.
That was that was good. But
and Castelli with Ben also prospector. So Ben
won the series despite not starting on Saturdays. So he had a great year. So that gelled well, and then you were kind of fitting in there. Again, you were all these other people you mentioned are younger. Actually, probably all under 23, under 21, even probably at that point. Edwin is older, but those other three, but he was already established in the scene.
Pascal and Mark are in their 30s as well.
And they're strong Masters racers, or I think I could call them Masters racers, eligible for Masters races at least. So, but they're still strong even in regular fields. So you had a good squad, and you fit right in there. So that was probably the first time then in some 1-2 races only, which a lot of the races here usually are including Cat 3, so it's a bit of a broader bandwidth of ability levels and training levels. But how was that the next transition then to Cat 2? Much of a change, and I think once you hit Cat 2, that can be a dead end sometimes for some people, because it's really then can get harder to get the results because you're competing a lot against Cat 1s who, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of talent there, and there's a lot of really strong people. There's a lot of sprinters who can outsprint you for the points that you need. So how did that year go, and then how did you make it to the Cat 1 upgrade, I think?
Definitely much stronger fields usually in the 1-2. I had some pretty tough races. Like I did Giro del Cielo in the 1-2 field, and it was like very hard. Especially the road race. I mean, once again I try to race as much as I could and go to the type of races where I could score the most points, I would say. That's how.
So you probably were looking at like some races that are 2-3 or Cat 2 only, which is, other than stage races, really doesn't exist for the most part. But you found some that were like.
I found some and kept going to Floyd, and with the teamwork, where I was able to get some top 5. Right.
Because that's the advantage of being a team, right? Then sometimes you're the one covering the break, and you can say, "Well, I have my sprinter behind me," and today you're the one who gets maybe a chance to go for some upgrade points or a podium, right?
I started doing some other races like Randalls or some smaller races where I was able to get some points. So some people choose to only race the prestigious races. I choose to go to all the races, including the small ones, and that's where you can get some points. You get like 1-2 points here and there. I mean, at the beginning of the 2020 season, I was like, well, they also changed the upgrade rules. So I had a decent amount of points, but with the old rules, it probably would have taken me a lot more time. But then I was like, we did the math, and I was like, oh, I'm not that far. So
they changed like the cutoffs for the field size and then the points you get for whatever. I think just last year, right?
Just last year.
Or 2019 or
I think end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And 2020, I was like, well, let's do those Randalls races at the beginning of the season. I actually ended up winning the series. So I placed on the podium a couple of times, and I got
it was just enough time to have a series.
I know, right before the pandemic shut everything down. and yeah, I was getting very close to that Cat 1 upgrade, and then COVID hit, and more important things had to be done, and bike racing stopped. So yeah, took a break like everyone else.
So you got the upgrade with the pandemic hitting.
Yeah, so I mean, I was very close, and I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. I'm gonna turn 40.
You're in good shape right now.
I know, I'm gonna turn 40 next year. Who knows when I can get more points? So I was kind of a little bit in a rush, and I was like, I now I'm a kid also, so I can't do all the sort of races that I would like to do. But yeah, I ended up getting my last points at this crit Pennsylvania in July, pickle juice crit.
Oh yeah, okay.
I saw you over there, and yeah, I got in the Masters field. I ended up winning a small field, but I ended up winning the field, and yeah, get enough points to get my upgrade. Finally, so yeah, it took time. It took a lot of races. But that's how it worked. Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break here. I think because the man's got to eat. He needs some fuel for Sunday. I don't want to harm the competition here. But we'll talk a little bit more about. I think a little bit of the physical preparation, then a little bit more of the cultural elements around cycling. So after the break.